All right. We are here. First guest of the State Media House. None other than my really good friend, my brother, Michael Mauti. Excited to have him on here into the Modelo Cantina. I just want to make sure that everybody's in tune here that this was completely made possible because of Modelo. Modelo is college football season. It is Modelo season. If you're listening right now, it's time to reward yourself. Reward yourself with full-time fandom with an ice-cold Modelo, the official beer partner of Penn State football. 21 plus. Please enjoy responsibly. So, Mike, we're here. I mean, this is Whiteout Weekend. This is the State Media House. This is the biggest game of the season. You know, you've been around as a townie here now for a little bit. All the hype coming into this year, we're going to keep this about this game for the most part. Like, what has your vibe been now heading into, I guess, week 5 with the bye, or week 5 with the bye week?
Week 5.
Like, what's your vibe been around town?
Well, what's my vibe been? The town's all. I mean, of course, everyone's excited, right? We're the best team. We're the great team. This is our year.
Yeah.
Like, I go back to the years where, we had a really good team, and it's all like we got to set the expectations, ignore the noise, do your job. Like, you come to Penn State because you're playing in games like this, like to be on the stage, national stage, prime time. So don't listen to anybody telling how good you are. You got to go out and prove it. And we don't really know who we are until we get punched in the mouth, how we respond. So that's kind of the stance that I've taken. I know we've got guys that are fighters that have bounced back. I watched them last year, the guys that they decided to come back and run it back this year. So they've been in those big moments, but it's only week 5. So they got to go out and earn it, prove it on the national stage.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like, there's that line of delineation between, like, fan talk, and then I think, like, I don't want to speak for every letterman. We're going to hear from a bunch of them today, but just my take on it is, we have a very much so, like, show me state type of mentality. Like, I want to see the ball get rolled out against a real football team and see how these guys react. Because to your point, I mean, I've covered this and I've talked about it ad nauseum now at this point, just about all of the factors that are pointing in the right direction for this team this year. And I just felt like the first 3 weeks they were tight. Like, they looked tight. They looked like there wasn't a lot of character, I guess you could say, within the offense. Like, it just looked like they were running plays.
Would you say, because some of those games, it's almost like they're manufactured, right? Because you're not showing anything.
Like a spring game.
Yeah. You can't show anything. You want to get guys reps. You want to get guys comfortable. You're setting up some things to make Oregon have to game plan for, like 2-point conversion last week. They're just showing it, see if the play works. Andy's got a Rolodex of plays up his sleeve that he's been dialing up, for the last all summer long, probably since the Big Ten championship game last year. Yeah. They've been watching that film. It's going to be a chess match. Like, it's going to be a masterclass of 3 downs, come to the bench, adjust. You watched that game last year in the Big Ten championship. I watched it closely, and every series was a setup to the next series. It was all pre-snap, change of strength motions, formations, all window dressing to get you out of alignment, and then they'll just see what you're doing. Timeout, boom. All right, well, they're going to come back to that in the fourth quarter or the third quarter. So it's more of a cerebral game. I look at it through the lens of a linebacker, right? I'm reading formation recognition. So from that standpoint, it'll be a 400 level game for sure.
Yeah, I think Kay is going to definitely let the cat out of the bag. I thought he was going to do a little bit more of it last week just to kind of get these guys like live fire reps. But you got a veteran team, right? So they got to feel pretty good about where they're at.
That's where I fall back to we got veteran experience. They've been in big games. They know what it's like to be in those moments and then execute and then be on the other side of the coin, and that don't feel very good.
Yeah.
So that makes them, that's like a good catalyst to be like, all right, no, we're going to win those moments. And I think our guys are primed up and ready to meet the call.
Yeah. There's no real I do agree with you when you talk about cat and mouse and like the gamesmanship, but like 400 level, like I really think that probably the first 3 to 4 series of this game is going to be just a bunch of jabs, like figuring it out. Like right. it's
that's how the
jabs
game,
and body shots.
Yeah.
And then you're really not going to see anybody start throwing haymakers until somebody gets in the groove. When you look at Jim Knowles and what he's been able to do, given the time frame, like he gets in here in the spring, off a national championship, has to learn a new roster, has to implement a new system with a side of the ball that, like, realistically speaking, hasn't had a lot of turnover from a philosophy standpoint, going back to even like when I was here, right? Like we had Shoot, and then we had Pry for so long, and then you brought in Manny, and then, you had the 1 year stint with Tom Allen, but we still did a lot of stuff that Manny was doing. And now, like, trying to match that up with personnel, having lost a couple key pieces, like, what are you seeing from the defensive side of the ball from a linebacker's lens?
From a linebacker's lens, it's just more of we just have to get in these situations where we got to get to 3rd and 7+. Like, we've got to get them behind the sticks.
Yeah.
Get them off schedule. So, like, winning on 1st, 2nd down, like, that's everyone says that, but here's what I fall back on. Like, I've been really impressed with the D-line. Our D-line is, we got young guys off the edges, and you got Zane Durant in the middle, who's as good as anybody in college football in between the 2 A gaps. So that takes some pressure off the
I don't mean to cut you off. Who does he remind you of?
He's got some Aaron Donald in him, but I don't know who he reminds me of. He's got some shakes, but you don't see him get knocked back a yard.
He reminds me of like a more taut Jordan Hill. Like he's a little more
just like more taut, square.
Yeah, like more like you know.
Jordan I've seen. He would cross over. He's got finesse. Yeah. He's one of the bigger guys that has as much finesse as he does. We used to 2-gap. I would just play off of him. Yeah. Never knew which way it was going, but Zane's he's just more of like he doesn't give ground like that, and that's the tell of as a linebacker. I'm like, that's great. Keep him back there in front of me. I got space to operate. He is like a bull in that sense, but.
Anyway, continue with what you were getting at, because I thought you were good. Just the defense, like Jim Knowles implementing what you've seen up to this point.
Yeah, like I think really it's about winning on 1st, 2nd down. Like if you got to get off the field in this game, like you have to get off the field as a defense, because they're fast, they're good, they're going to make plays, they're going to gash you, but like you don't want to be out there for 10, 12 play drives in the 1st, 2nd quarter, and then be gassed in the 4th. So it's all about just getting off the field. And how do you do that? You got to win on 1st, 2nd down, get them to 3rd and 6, 7+. And now we can use our young guys that are off edges. Now Jim can be more aggressive and get after the quarterback. Like, that's the only way you win on defense. And you can't have their offense on the field all day. Time of possession, I think, is going to be a huge factor in the game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm very old school in that sense. Like, control the football. Limit opportunities.
Yeah, we got 2 NFL backs.
Getting a flow.
We got 2 NFL backs on the offense. Take some pressure off of Drew, and then control the game, control the clock. That's where I sit on my perspective.
Now, being completely transparent, I haven't seen, the second halves of some of these games was a little bit lackluster in terms of consistently paying attention, and then I also don't have access to the all 22, so I haven't been able to like sit on Monday and like rewatch it. But I only saw us, like, Jim Knowles, historically speaking, having watched him the past 8 to 10 years in college football, he rolled the dice a lot in like gotta have it situations. Like, I'm talking like he was who's the Greg? He was like Greg Williams-ish, like
Dennis Allen. If it's like feast or famine.
If it's 3rd and 8 with 3 minutes left in the 4th quarter, like, here comes fucking 0.
Let's go win.
Like, it's like, here comes 0. We're coming after you. Like,
yeah,
our guys are better than your guys, type of thing. Jim, I saw that a lot with Jim, especially at Ohio State, and gotta have it situations.
With that defense.
But we only let it fly. I think we might have called 0 like 3 or 4 times this year in those type of situations. And ironically, they were against Villanova in the 2nd quarter. When they were going to try to score, we were trying to keep the goose egg up there with that the last 50 seconds of the game in some of those 3rd down situations. So talk about, like, when you are in those situations from a defensive player's perspective, like getting that rep in live fire. Like, I think that I've never done it because I just threw footballs, but similarly to like orchestrating, certain type of passing concepts and things like that, like there's a flow to it, right? Like there's a timing, like this guy eats this guy up, and that's when I know I can accelerate and hit an edge, and I know I'm going to hit,
Right.
free run home. Like getting those game fire reps at that. Like, do you think there's a factor in not having done that as much, but just having done it in practice as opposed to when the lights are on?
Yeah, but I think you've seen splash play. Like guys have made splash plays sprinkled throughout the last few games, and like like rushing the passer is rushing the passer. Like coach calls my number, like
but that's what I'm talking
home.
But that's why I'm talking more conceptually from like a blitz package perspective. Like here's my 2-shell that's hidden, and they're in like a condensed bunch set, and I can really hide it in college football with the hashes. And like all of a sudden we're going to rotate full down, bring an overload from one side or zero or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like being responsible, being gap sound if they do run the football, because those when you get gashed.
Right. That to that point, I think knowing like blitz lanes are important, right?
Yeah.
If we're sending pressure, like we got to know who's the edge of the defense. So containing edges when they're flaring backs, knowing who's peeling with backs out of zero pressures if we're in that situation, but just the integrity of the rush.
Yeah.
Because then it's complementary. You got pass rush and pass coverage. Like if we get to the quarterback in 2.5 seconds, like we got an all-pro corner out there or an all-American corner. He's only got to cover for because we're getting home. Mm-hmm. So those things got to start. And some of those you get the feel for it in live fire, but you can't really replicate that against scout team offense or FIU. So no disrespect to those programs. They got good players, but in this setting, I think, as a defense, like I just remember our defense, like you win on first, second down. Now you got the crowd. Like you got to keep the crowd in it. That's kind of that's the factor that you play to your advantage. You win the crowd early, which is what Oregon's going to do. That's what probably Dan Lanny's telling them, is like strike early, like punch first, take the crowd, like pop the bubble, like deflate the crowd, settle in. They want to do that as early as they can, right? Because it's going to be bananas environment. It's playing in the shoe, rolling into Columbus, just hostile.
You're getting popcorn and beer dumped on you, walking down that little weird like tunnel, and they got the huge wall there, and they're like,
But the bus ride going like into Columbus, you're going through all those brown row homes, and it's just all students, and they're just like, usually there's just a sign of profanities like written in bed sheets, and there's just beers getting launched, and everybody's just double birds up, and that's when I usually just get in there. It was just, then on the field, they're on defense. It's like hell's bells goes on a third down. I'm like, oh, this is freaking. It was hostile.
Shoes.
And then, like my philosophy of noise and playing away games is like noise is noise. Like we just use that. We get hyped the same way.
Yeah.
But that was my favorite environment to go in.
Yeah.
Granted, we won twice out there. That was the last group that did that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they got a chance to do that this year, which we got to take care of home business first. But how about you? What was your favorite one?
My favorite one,
or at least the most hostile, the one that were.
every
Ohio
State fans are the most hostile fans. My mom got like 3 coffees dumped on her over the 2 games that we played out there.
And most of it was like, you're a rapist. You're like, people are calling us, what, this and that. And I'm like, okay.
My favorite was Madison, Wisconsin. Are my favorite.
That was the most fun.
Yeah,
that was the most fun.
Some atmosphere, jump around. We were like 24-point dogs. We were jumping around.
It's good.
You think I'm gonna jump around? 24-point dogs, get out there! You gotta jump around. But Madison,
I've been on both sides of that coin. My freshman, what was it? In 11, we went out there right after, she hit the fan, and Russell Wilson just torched us. We were down by, I don't know, 20 or 30 points, and they're jumping around. Well, next year we get out there and we're jumping around. Yeah. Freshman year, 2008, we got out there, and by the third quarter, the game was over. We had fun, but that environment, man, Big Ten is just Like everywhere you go is just a great freaking college football environment.
Madison's awesome, and I'll drop one more in there just because I think it's going to catch a lot of people off guard. We played Rutgers for their first night Big Ten game, and they did a blackout. And like, I live in Jersey now. SHI is not this.
It's pretty much the same game day production.
People like it's just not like it's not this like crazy stadium, but it was. I tell people because like in terms of operating with noise, I could operate better on third down at Michigan than I did that game at Rutgers.
Well, PJ was the game day production guy. He used to be Beaver Stadium's in-game production.
Yeah,
so
DJ,
you go there and he was great. I mean, But so you go to a Rutgers game and I have flashbacks. It's all the same in-game sequences, music. And,
I'm sure it's been a little while, but back on track. Let's get back on track to what I believe is the style environment in all of college sports, which is the whiteout at Penn State, 7:30 tomorrow night.
I just got chills thinking about it.
So how much of a factor? I mean, obviously, like you played in your whiteout games. I had 6 overtimes in my 3 whiteout games. So like there is something magical that happens there. There's a little bit to it. Oregon's flying all the way out from the West Coast. Travel's going to be a thing that they're going to. And then
staying in Altoona.
They were also.
Toontown.
Staying in Altoona is probably another slight adjustment, but they've been playing in the Pac-12. Haven't really, I don't think, seen an environment quite like that. How much of a factor is that going to play?
You just can't replicate it. Like you can play music on practice all day long, but you get in there and like there's something like there's a reaction where you're like, holy shit! Like when they play Mo Bamba, when it gets rolling, it's like. And then on the flip side, in game, again, like going back to the crowd, like using the crowd on defense to your advantage, like getting to 3rd and 7+.
Because they're going to get up.
Because then you got now it's crowd. And to tie in your other point about Jim Knowles and being in that live fire blitz zero, those situations, like, all right, well, on defense all week, it's probably no talking, all signals.
Yeah.
Because you can't hear. I can be screaming as loud as I can, even closer to here, and I can't even hear my own voice.
Yeah.
Like it's that loud, especially backed up in the against the student section back there. So all those things come into factor, but advantage defense in that situation. But you can't replicate that environment. Like there's just nothing like it.
Yeah. I mean, coach called for it, and it just has seemed like it's always been, bigger and better this year. But when you're looking at it, 6 versus 3, 7:30 primetime game day, all the anticipation you mentioned about Penn State and the expectations for this year.
There's so much. You got alignment like university wide. You have just this ramp, and it's been a couple of years now, which is this thing's just been like, or like just slowly boiling up. So there's a lot of like potential, just built up anticipation, energy. Was the last night game 06? Was that the last night game in whiteout that they've had?
Well,
Notre Dame.
Well, we finished. Yeah. I think like official night kick.
Yeah.
No. I think we had Ohio State my sophomore year, and I think the Iowa one recently was as well.
Yeah.
But to your point, though, I mean, we have had a dry spell. Like I know my senior year or my junior year, sorry, my last year here.
What was that? 14?
15. We had a noon kick for the whiteout against Michigan. It was weird. It was early.
Yeah. Well, yeah, at that point they weren't.
That just kind of like
they weren't throwing us a primetime game then.
Yeah. It was kind of not the same.
No,
after having played what at that point was the longest game in Big Ten history against Michigan in 4 overtimes, and then a double overtime against Ohio State the year they went to go win on to win the national championship.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of like a
yeah. Yeah. Oh, shoot! I remember being up here at 06. We were playing Notre Dame and Brady Quinn. I was on my junior day visit. Yeah. I was sitting with Zordich and Mike Yancich and Gerald Hodges. And
it's a hell of a crew.
Our crew. And we were just baby face, 16-year-olds. And I'm like, I came up from Louisiana and I'm like, where else do I want to play football besides this environment? Yeah. It's like, so I know there's going to be a ton of recruits. There's hundreds of recruits in town. Every sport's got their best recruit in town to showcase. this environment, which is just something unique to Penn State. It's going to be a hell of a show.
I'm excited for it, dude. So with that being said, we've been on the other side of the coin now. So the Every Fan Ritual brought to you by Modelo. Another segment here to kind of put a bow on this thing. Now that you're out, what does your pregame ritual look like?
Now that I'm out.
Now that you're out.
Now that I'm out.
Now that you're on the other side.
I actually have it's like when a home game at Penn State, it's like Christmas morning. Yeah. So like I have the anticipation and wake up and I'm just, usually it's followed quickly after waking up by like Thunderstruck, AC/DC. Yeah. Just blasting music. But I'll start out at tailgate and just bounce around. It's kind of the beauty of not setting up your own tailgate. You just go to everyone's tailgate, have a little bite, just mix and mingle. I always go through the tunnel. I don't know, 45 minutes, stand in the same spot, south end zone, just watch you guys warm up. I just love the show, man. I left it on the field. Like, I have no regrets. I don't take anything with me. I'm not like sitting there like, I wish I was back there. I'm like, I left it there. Yeah. Like, it's there. And so I love watching the guys that, we've been watching the last couple of years, guys like Zane, guys like Drew and K-Tron, these guys, even like Tony Rojas, guys that have just worked so hard to be in these moments and to be in these, like, to play on that stage. And I just want success for them and just hope they show, hope they play their best ball. I really do.
7:30 tomorrow night, boy. We're going to find out.
Let's go.
All right, man. I appreciate it. This is Michael Mauti from the State Media House, the Modelo Cantina.
Bunch of fighters.
With that being said, some things in life are just made for each other. Peanut butter and jelly, macaroni and cheese, Penn State football, and a Modelo. The official beer partner of Penn State Athletics. If you're listening to this, it means you live for Penn State football. All season long, you know that makes you a full-time fan, which means you deserve a Modelo 21 and up. Please enjoy responsibly. We're going to have a bunch more Letterman sit-downs just like this. This was Michael Mauti, the Iron Lion himself, Mr. Hair on Fire.
So, salute, brother.
Letterman, brother, teammate, blood for life. Appreciate you sitting down, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Stoked for next week. So.